All right, I call this meeting to order at 5:30 p.m. on May 11th, 2016, Circuit 301. First order of business, roll call in attendance. Dr. Kathleen Barlow. Dr. Kathleen Barlow.
Here.
What?
Here. Matt Brown.
Here.
Joey Bryant.
Here.
John Deehan.
Here.
Gary Epp.
Here.
Dr. Serafini.
Here.
Trey Justin.
Here.
Rachel Knight. Robert Lane. Richard Miller. Dr. Todd Shriver.
Here.
Danae Skiles.
Here.
Patrick Stanton.
Here.
Andrew Sullivan.
Here.
Brittany Wold. Moving into the third item of business, agenda approval. Please take a moment to review the agenda. Excuse me. It's a busy one today. Gary? There's a motion made. Is there a second? Trey seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? No abstentions, vote carries. Moving to item 4, approval of the minutes for May 4th, 2016. Please take a moment to review the minutes. Is there a motion to approve? Trey?
So move.
Motion has been made. Is there a second? Matt seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? 2 abstentions. Vote carries. Moving into item 5, reports. I don't have a report this time. Joey?
I do not.
I have 2 things, although I think everyone's being quiet. They don't want to leave early this week, apparently. One is just a reminder, it's on the bottom of there. We will not be meeting next week for Source. So there will be no meeting next week. We will have one more official meeting the week after. The other one is just, again, we put out last week, if anyone had any recommendations for dinner on the June 1st meeting. Again, since that we'll be doing dinner that meeting instead of a formal meeting like this, but since Andy and I have to make reservations, does anyone have any suggestions? Otherwise, we'll end up just making a decision.
It was nice last year at the Roadhouse.
Roadhouse, yeah.
That was nice. You seemed to accommodate us well.
Yeah. That's where we went. I think we've gone the last 2 years there, if I remember correctly. Are there any other suggestions or ideas? Or are we all good with the Roadhouse? Perfect.
Wonderful.
That was quick and easy.
Joey? Seeing nothing else from Andy. Move into first order of public comment. Is there any public comment at this time? Seeing none, moving into section 7, old business. Moving into section 8, new business, base allocation adjustments, state salary increases. I'll leave this one to Andy to start off with, and we'll deliberate after he's
Sounds good. So, once a year, so we're switching gears a little bit. We're not talking about supplemental. Right now, we're talking about base funded areas and those allocations that go out at the beginning of each year. Once a year to keep up with state mandated increases, step increases for classified staff. This committee has to vote on that, even though they are state mandated by policy. This committee has to vote on it, approve it, and then we have to move it up to the Business Finance Committee, and ultimately it goes up to the trustees. So today I'm going to show you what I have projected for next year. What we try to do is I'll say front load these allocations, including these anticipated expenses. This way I know at the forefront, how much money do we need in fees to cover all the expenses, and know how much we'll have for supplemental and all that fun stuff. So we're going to be looking at some fiscal 17 figures. Before I get into that, it looks like we also need to, we're kind of doing this a little bit backwards. For fiscal year 16, I don't believe this process was actually done and got into the minutes and got approved. So some of this is a bit of a formality. None of these increases have ever been awarded to these departments. So we're trying to backlog that and get them current on top of projecting for next year. So I'm completely current on getting all the votes to where we need to be. Does that all make sense to everybody?
So we need to retroactively fix fiscal 16 and at the same time change it for fiscal 17.
Yeah, right. So again, typically in my estimation, these votes should be done towards the very end of the fiscal year for the following. And upon review of the minutes for last year, I was not in this position. It just doesn't look like it happened. I don't know why. Doesn't matter.
So what did happen this year? Did they go ahead and get those automatic increases, but their budgets just stayed the same?
Correct. Yep. And
So they had less to spend, less discretionary funds.
Right, and there've been some areas that have seen that impact a bit more, who are, purely professional staff, have no other goods and services, so that obviously got everybody's attention, and here we are.
When I do know, for whatever reason, the last few years, I've been in the same mindset to do it the year before, but it's always been a retroactive, since it happens during the summer, that we go back. I do know we discussed it this year, but we didn't officially vote on it.
Yeah.
So for those who remember, that's why this may seem similar.
Yeah, it was back in January,
Yeah.
and I think I had a family emergency going on. I tried to pass it on to you, and then...
And we had a conversation, but I don't think there was an official in the
Yeah.
minutes
So
motion and vote.
This is just to get that tightened up, to show the committee kind of where we're at, to get things up to speed for this year and what to anticipate for next year, and to field any questions that anybody may have. So I'll just kind of dive in. I just put up a few slides. I try to keep it fairly simplistic.
Can we all see that?
Can everybody see this? I'm sure we can see that, right? So this is just a snapshot for this year of what still needs to be awarded to the various areas for those mandatory salary increases. So we have them all split out: exempt, classified, and total benefits for a total of $48,442.75. Now I tried to put something together that's a bit easier to see and understand, to see where all this money is going. So as you can see, it's really easy to understand. Yeah, I'm being a funny guy. Very funny guy. So this is a breakdown. I have some handouts too, if that's easier for everybody. This is actually breaking down each SNA funded area, the positions that required the increase, and how much each area will be getting. Does anybody want, I have hard copies, or I can send this via email if anybody needs something right now.
The email would be nice.
Does that work? Okay.
So I guess my only question is, that other sheet you had, how many people are we talking about? Is it like 50 people? I mean, just ballpark even. It looked like a lot.
It is a lot. I don't even want to ballpark it. I mean, I really don't.
Because it's not like that top one, it's like $18,000. That's not going to one person.
No.
That's a tiny little bit to...
It's spread out. Some areas are getting just, $50 or $100, things like that. Anyway, we're staying consistent with step increases and any other mandatory state increases that were passed.
Minimum wage.
Minimum wage, all those things that we just need to stay current with.
Does everyone know what a step increase means? I just want to make sure.
Sure. Okay. So I'll send this out to the committee. It breaks it all down so you can arrive at this $48,442 figure. That is what we're looking at for this current fiscal year that we are in right now. That still needs to be awarded. Really at this point, unless anybody has some additional questions, like I said, I'll send out some detail for everybody to see how we arrived at this figure. But this would be the first item to vote on, and then we would move forward into fiscal 17, anticipating for next year.
Are there any questions?
So the adjustments have already been made?
Have
This is
not.
just
Have
approving that the funds go there?
Correct. Yep, everything took effect over the summer.
So they got their...
Those things were
people
happening
got-
regardless.
They got their
The
money.
people
Yeah, they're still
paid.
getting their money. Yeah.
What we're effectively doing is changing their budget, not their expenses.
We're exactly. We're only increasing their budget to meet those mandated salary increases.
So we're not just having to go find new money.
No, not at all. No, this is all base, so this is coming out of the working SNA budget.
So I make a motion that we approve this amount for the salary adjustments for FY16.
Motion has been made. Is there a second?
Second.
John has seconded. Is there any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Vote carries to approve fiscal year 16 adjustment.
Thank you.
And we need to make the fiscal year 17 adjustment as well.
Yep, we're going to immediately shift gears.
Yeah.
And we will look at, for fiscal 17 projections. The number in total does not deviate very much at all. I think maybe a couple $100. And again, this is to get things, I think I would like to say just current. So now, for myself, as I get ready for the next year, some of you folks won't even be here anymore. This is something that, right, process and policy, this committee needs to approve it first, so I can make those necessary adjustments in preparation for the next fiscal year. Again, I have this split out in a lovely, no, I'm just joking. I do have this also split out for the other fiscal year, same way, showing exactly which areas and how much. Please.
So Andy, is that taking into account then what the I mean, I know that there's some guaranteed increases and there's some anticipated increases.
So right, so this is the part where, being that it's not happened, I mean,
Yeah.
this one for this current year was a bit easier because it already happened, so I was able to grab things and get more detail to it. So yes, I mean this is all anticipated. Nothing has been approved. I could sit here and say it sure seems like it, but you won't know until it happens.
So we could solve that with a motion to approve it. Should the
If anything changes,
should up to that amount, assuming that the board of trustees, approves the salary actions
Right,
up to
right.
there. They could come back and say that it's not 1%, it's half,
1.5,
and then that motion
and then
would
we
still
go
be
back
fine in the
and
minutes,
make some
right?
adjustments, and that's something.
I just don't want to have to go through it again. Like,
No, me neither.
Yeah.
I don't want to do it again. Either. I mean, it's fun going up to the trustees and everything. But, yes, if again these are projections. These are pretty firm numbers.
Did you guess high?
I did.
Okay.
I did.
So if anything, it'll come under that. Probably.
That'd be the idea, right? So again, if something was to completely throw off these projections over the course of the summer, I would gather these materials again, present it to the next committee, and say, previous committee, we approved this, but things happened, and now we're looking at this, and go from there. But for right now, to show that we are, what we are trying to anticipate, to show Business and Finance Committee and the trustees that we are prepared to cover these expenses.
Can't we just do a motion without a dollar amount and just say move to increase the base allocation to cover state mandated increases?
That's a good question, and I can double check because that sure would be a lot easier.
We come back to.
I believe there's some type of reconciliation with minutes. That's I don't know if that's an audited thing. It has to be consistent
Promise
from
that way it doesn't.
approving
so Andy
here.
can't go and
set-
play with things.
exactly right. It stays that number here. It goes up to BFC. It stays that number, and it goes. I agree.
yeah.
I mean, because
Whatever
it's
that's
state mandated increases, it's not like something that
Yes,
you
correct.
really can affect.
Right.
Yeah.
You're held, but you have to vote, and yeah, that's politics. So again, we are looking at, for fiscal 17, mandatory adjustments.
So I guess the question would be then along those lines. It's you guessed high. It comes in at 41,000 instead of 48. Does that mean that now these base funded groups have more discretionary money, or is this all, or will that money come back to SNA, to the general fund?
It would stay in the general fund. I would never award anything up and above what has been approved and voted on.
So that's
Yeah,
that's
so I think that's why-
easy then.
Strictly salary. That's it.
Yeah.
Here, I'll make a motion.
You make a motion.
Motion to approve funding to those organizations up to 48,782. 51 cents. Anticipating a salary action approved during the summer. And then not to exceed, so like,
Well, if we just say,
Salary
if
action.
we just accept it as it is, it says FY16, it's got a dollar amount there, so.
Yeah. So that's 17.
That should
But I
be
think what you're trying to say is
17
if it comes back,
17.
somehow
It
it's
says 17.
38.
It's 17.
17 now.
Look at that.
Yeah.
Somehow if it comes
Like
back,
that.
it's 38. We want 38 to go. And we don't want them to have to come back.
So don't we want to just say
So we
we
rescinded the
approve
Got a motion.
There's a motion on the
state
table,
mandated
so.
Stop
salary
discussion.
increases
So-
up to-
A motion has been made.
Point of order.
Yeah.
Point of order.
We never finished it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, there was a motion made.
What's the motion again?
To approve funding to base allocations up to 48,782 and 51 cents to cover salary actions approved during
Salary
the summer
adjustments.
Yeah,
for fiscal year
17.
Motion was
17.
made. Is there a second? Gary, is there a second? Motion has been made and seconded. Is there any discussion
Now
at this
you
time?
can talk about it.
Is that gonna be okay?
Yeah.
Yeah,
As
I
is?
believe so. I
Okay.
believe so.
it would cover that, because then if it does change.
Yeah, I
we
do.
just have to
I
make the
you know,
adjustment.
yeah, I try to go a bit higher in the event. I'd rather say, hey, we have too much and move it back.
Okay.
Is there any other discussion on this matter? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? One abstention. Vote carries in approving funding in the amount of $48,782.51 for salary adjustments in fiscal year 17.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving out of new business and into other business communications received. I have not received any communications.
Nope.
Moving out of other business communications received into public comment, second call. Is there any public comment this time?
Again, since we don't have a meeting next week, everyone please enjoy Source next week. It'll be taking over the CIRC. It's always a big to-do.
And so, since we don't have a meeting next week, the next week I have an awards ceremony that I'm going to receive an award at. So I don't know.
Congratulations.
And so I won't be here for that meeting. So
Okay.
please let me know where the dinner's going to be. I would like to go to
Send
the
that out.
dinner.
Sure. Any other public comment at this time? Yep.
I'll miss the May 25th meetings, will be out of town with my son's graduation.
It's not public comment, but with the dinner, if you are going to be bringing anyone with you, the dinner will cover you all. Anyone you're bringing with you, you would have to pay for, but let us know so we can make a reservation for the right amount of people. So if you are bringing anyone with you, let either Vinay, Andy, or me know within the next week.
Got it. Thank you. Is there any other public comment at this time? Seeing none, is there a motion to adjourn? Gary moves. Is there a second? Trey seconds. Any discussion? Seeing none, all those in favor? Any opposed? Any abstentions? This meeting is adjourned at 5:49 p.m. on May 11, 2016.
That's like second.